Hello grade 2, this is Miss Nuran Abu Shafa. Our second science lesson, still talking about materials, but in this lesson we're going to learn how do we change the materials to make them useful. Why do you change materials? We use materials to make things. So, as you see here, I've got three pictures. We've got comb, a glass bottle, and elastic bands. What is the comb made of? The comb is made from plastic, and the glass bottle is from sand, and the elastic band are made from rubber. How do we change the shape of the material? Either by bending, squashing, twisting, stretching, heating, or cooling. Let's watch out how. The first one is squashing. What is squashing? Squashing is putting the materials together or squeezing it. As you see here in the picture, the hand is squeezing or squashing the ball. So this is the squashing. This is the first way to change the shape of a material. Second one is bending. The meaning of bending is to curve. You see, it was a straight, as you see here in the picture, it was a straight stick, but bending it is to make it a curved stick. So, materials that can be bent easily are called flexible. That means some material you can bend them like this, like the stick. These materials, we call them flexible because they can be bent easily. It's not hard. But materials that cannot be bent easily are called rigid, like the plate. As you see here, the glass plate, it cannot be bent, it is hard. But the straws here, they're flexible because we can bend them easily. Twisting. Twisting is stretching and turning materials at the same time. As you see here in the picture, so you stretch the material and then you turn it back at the same time. This is the meaning of twisting. Stretching. Stretching, pulling the material apart. You see elastic band between his fingers. Heating. Heating, when materials are heated, they become hot. So heating means is when you have a cold material or warm material and you heat it on fire, or you heat it in a warm place, or maybe you keep it in the sun so it becomes hot. The material becomes hot. This is the meaning of heating. Clay pots and bricks get hard when they're heated. So this is a clay pot, okay? This is a clay pot. You know that if you heat a clay pot, it becomes hard. You can squash it, but once you heat it, it becomes hard and breakable. The bread dough gets bigger when it's left in a warm place. This is a bread dough, okay? The bread dough, if you keep it in a warm place, in your room, in the kitchen, it gets bigger because of the heat, because of the high temperature. It becomes bigger. Some materials softer or melt when they are heated. As you see here, as an example of a candle. When you heat the candle, it starts melting. It starts melting. The last way is cooling. When you cool materials, they become colder. For example, here I have a cup of water, and I split this water into cubes and I put it in the freezer. What happens when I cool the water? It turns to ice. So the water turns to ice when you cool it. That means the materials, when you cool them, they become colder. part of our lesson is dissolving materials. Dissolving materials, when some solids such as sugar or salt are added to water, they seem to disappear. So that means if you take a spoon of sugar or a spoon of salt and you add them to water and you start stirring and stirring and stirring, what happens to the salt and the sugar? They dissolve in water. What does this mean? They means they disappear. When you continue stirring, you will no longer see the salt or the sugar. Here in the first picture, when I added the salt to the water, you can see it. Look here. You can see the salt, yes? But after I stir it, do you still see salt here? Of course, no. Where did the salt go? It dissolves in water. It disappeared. That means salt and sugar, they dissolve in water. Second part of dissolving materials is like when some solids such as sand or coffee added to the water, they will not dissolve. Let's take a look here on this photo. This is a cup of water and I added coffee and sand to the water and I started stirring and stirring and stirring. What happens now? Do you still see the sand and the coffee? Yes, of course. But in the previous picture, when I added sauce, when I stir it, I did not see it. So you can still see the sand grains in the water. Why? Because as long as we see the sand and coffee grains in the water, that means sand and coffee, these materials, they don't dissolve in water.